Morning. So I have never presented without my laptop right here, so I'm sorry for the awkwardness of going like this every couple of minutes. I apologize for that. So I'm going to talk about some of the rules, which, well, you'll see. So first of all, the difference between the two terms. So you just heard an example of how these terms are defined. Yes? Okay. Any of you go, that's not how I define it. All right, so there are those hands. So direct from college catalogs, here are some definitions of concurrent enrollment. So concurrently enrolled students are high school students attending a college course. Concurrent enrolled students allow students at college X to take courses at another college while staying enrolled at college X. Or colleges have MOUs with high schools such that when a concurrently enrolled class is held at the high school, so you might notice that there's some difference in those definitions. So let's look at, wrong way. It's not intuitive, huh?
Diana, would you rather have a wireless mic?
Oh yeah, no problem. So you don't have to keep seeing me turn my head. Sorry. That's all right, my fault. So, can you hear me? Sorry. So, dual enrollment. High school students have a dual enrollment promise and can enroll in a college course. Or dual enrollment program offered at the high school with open enrollment to any student at the college. Some of those definitions sound familiar? Yeah. And then of course there's those attending another school along with this college. We call concurrent enrollment, and we refer to those students as dual credit students. And then dual enrollment programs consist of college classes offered at our local high school sites, as well as enrollment opportunities for high school students at the college campus. Everybody following? Oh, wrong way. So, keep doing that. So one thing's clear, some entities or colleges or districts define these terms as the same. Some define them differently, and some define them oppositely different. So what you should know, and what you just heard a few minutes ago, is there is no legal legislated delineation between these two terms. They have been defined differently, the same, and oppositely different than local districts and local areas. So the main point of this is you have to be clear what you're talking about. Where will the high school students be, and what is happening while they're there? So the good news is, high school students can get college credit for college courses. It didn't play. She says yay. Is it where I'm pointing this?
No, going back here.
That's where it's pointing.
It actually works when you put it at the screen.
Oh, it does. Huh. Interesting. So one, I want to just clarify, we're not talking about middle college. And the reason I point this out is that middle college is covered in a different section of Ed Code, 11300 to 11302, and it's a specific category of high school students taking college coursework, and they operate as a cohort. So it's just really important to know, to clarify where you're reading the information so that you know which group you're talking about. And right now there's only about 9 college districts that participate in middle college. So Ed Code, these are the sections for K-12. There we go. I got a happy clicker. 48800 to 814 and 7601 to 76002. One section applies to K-12 districts and one section applies to community colleges. So the general purpose for dual and concurrent enrollment: advanced scholastic work, vocational work, educational enrichment, and smoother transition to college. For those of you that actually maybe for everyone in this room, we don't like the term vocational. CTE is a little bit preferred over that. So in the 48,800 section, it talks about K-12 districts and what the K-12 district has sort of a responsibility for, what they need to do. First, students would need to have a principal recommendation, parental consent. Courses for high school and or college credit. The high schools can receive ADA, but it's prescribed in law how they can do that. And there's a limit on summer. So colleges now have to have some policies too. So the students from the high school are called special admit part-time students. They're limited to 11 units per term. How many of you have districts where you have students taking 11 units in a semester? Anyone? So a couple. Colleges can receive apportionment. Colleges and K-12s determine respective level of course credit. So is it going to be high school transcripted or college transcripted? Students are assigned low enrollment priority. You'll see there's a little asterisk there. That is different than middle college. And so sometimes people get those confused. But in a dual or concurrent enrollment program, the priority is low. Middle college is a partnership between a district and a college, where the students are in a cohort and they actually take classes together through the college. Usually they go to the college campus, and it's specifically designed, or supposed to be designed, for at-risk, under-academically performing high school students. And here's one that sometimes gets tricky. Community colleges have to advertise for the course. And they have to allow, for them to get apportionment, so this is the community college section, they have to allow anyone from the public to enroll in the course. And there are some specific limitations to PE classes. So there's percentages that have to be monitored for PE courses.
Excuse me, ma'am, I
Yeah.
have a question.
Yeah.
How do you get around the open enrollment for high school campuses? Is that up to districts?
Well, she asked how do you get around open enrollment for high school campuses? So if the college courses held on the high school campus, the campus has to be open for the public to come onto the campus. There are interesting interpretations to that. So the high school district needs to have a policy defining their open campus that will allow those students to come on the campus. And there is some, and I'll talk about some proposed legislation, but that is a tricky piece for a lot of districts. Particularly, it's a little bit of a trickier piece now than it was 10 years ago.
Especially for small districts that have all three schools on the same side. It's a little frightening for our work.
Right, so you have like K-12 all on the same side. Sorry about that, you guys. So the governing board of the district has the right to make policies that put some specifications on which high school students can attend. So they can say high school students have to be a specific age. Do you all know what age your district students have to be to attend? Some know, some don't. They have to have maybe they could say that you have to be completed a certain grade level. So you can only be a senior or junior and do it. Or you have to be 17 or 15. And sometimes there's demonstrated eligibility for a course that's based on assessment. So maybe there's a pre-req or multiple assessment measures that are used for students' entrance. So there is a minimum conditions for open courses that's actually in Title V, as opposed to Ed Code as the previous citations. And basically the gist of it's the bold part. shall be fully open to enrollment and participation by any person who has been admitted to the college and who meets such prerequisites. So sometimes there may be a limitation on the course that's a regulatory issue or a prerequisite to a course, or it kind of links into the previous slide. Or it could be you're exempted by statute. Oh my Lord, I don't know what happened. Okay, so again, in order to complain, that's entitled to, in order to get apportionment at the community college, Title V says it has to be open to the public. So the previous was the ed code section, but it's also entitled. And we have to advertise in the course catalog and the schedule of courses. And there's actually a 30-day requirement if you dig into the regs a little bit. So you can't just pop it up suddenly and then we advertise for a day. It doesn't work. And again, you cannot give preferential enrollment. So you can't say, well, we have this class in our schedule, but you have to be a high school student. You limited accessibility. You can't limit accessibility unless there's a legal reason why you do it, a statutory or a licensure issue. And you cannot exclude qualified students. So that's your definition of what's an open course. So some things to remember is the main things about this whole thing, and that's kind of why you guys are here today, is that the K-12 boards and the college boards need policies on sometimes defining the terms, but also what are their parameters around this happening, and you have to work together. So in some areas, the school district's board's policies may not match the community college district's board policies. So it's very important that there's dialogue and work together, and that the work that's done here also matches what's up here with the boards. Does that make sense? So, one thing to note is I am not legal counsel for the Chancellor's Office. So I'm not giving a legal opinion. There are a couple of legal opinions you can find on the Chancellor's Office website, but they're fairly dated, but still used. And also to know that the Chancellor's Office is looking at getting some clarity about a lot of these issues. So some of the issues that come up are issues that are systemic in the state. So opening our campuses seems to be a pretty consistent issue. The definition of the terms. I have been in some meetings where people are arguing about what you can do with dual and what you can do with concurrent, and they're actually talking about the same thing, but they're using different terms. And there's some legislation. Has everyone heard about AB 288? Anyone heard? All right, so 5 of us. So it is proposed legislation that the Chancellor's Office is behind and supporting, called College and Career Access Pathway. And it is about partnerships with college districts and school districts. And it does address some of these issues that we've talked about, so I would encourage you to read it. It is on, you can find it on LegInfo, or if you don't know where to find it there, I can send it to you, you can just ask for it. But just know that these issues that you're discussing, and you'll be discussing the rest of the day, are pretty hot right now, and they are being looked at. Are you ready to move on to articulation? All right. So, articulation is simpler. Well, at least legislatively. So, there are about 4 ways to get college credit for courses. One, you can take a college course. You can do credit by exam. So someone walks in off the street to the college and says, I want to get credit for this course. And if that course has been identified as by the college as a course that you can get credit for by exam, then the person can apply to do that. There's articulation of high school courses, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then there, of course, is advanced placement exams. So, articulation of high school courses. The community college board of trustees has to have a policy, and colleges should have a list of what courses are allowed or not allowed to be taken as credit by exam or to be articulated. And that changes by district, which courses colleges might allow for articulation. And they can be accepted, the articulated courses, to satisfy certificate requirements or areas of emphasis for degree. And they're clearly noted on the transcript, and they need a credit by exam process. So here's the thing that sometimes causes us difficulty. The credit by exam process and the articulation of the course is pretty firmly in the purview of faculty of the college. Everybody with me? Okay. So it's very, very important that your process involves getting your high school faculty and your college faculty together to talk about that content. Now, it isn't legislated that we do that, but it's important that that dialogue takes place. The credit by exam process in the high school articulation process does not have to be the same credit by exam that is used for someone that walks in off the street. So your credit by exam process within articulation can be unique to that articulation agreement. And there are many ways that colleges do this throughout the state. Some colleges have an exam that the faculty of the college have developed, and they give it to the high school teacher to give to their students. Some colleges, the high school students have to come to the college and take the exam. Some colleges, there's a portfolio that the high school class has to do. There are probably about as many ways to do this as there are people in this room. Does it all make sense? Okay. And there, thank you, bounced ahead. So are there questions? I know I talk fast. Yes?
Can it be as simply defined as this, articulation equals credit by exam? Dual enrollment means on-campus classes with no credit by exam?
Yes, but that would be a local definition.
Okay, and dual enrollment can also be academic courses, not just CTE or area of emphasis.
Yes,
Okay.
if it's defined as here. So, for example, in one course, I teach a course at the high school after hours, that's a college course, and my students choose which credit they want, and they also get college credit for it if they do college credit option. I could articulate the same course and let the high school teacher get whatever test that high school teacher thinks meets it, as long as we agree on our articulation, what's the content of that course. Oh, okay. Other questions?
I mentioned the transcripts, it's noted differently when it's an articulation. You just write that a little bit more with the second last word.
If it's done by credit by exam, here's where we get to that legal opinion piece. If they just enroll in the college class at the college, it's different. They get here's my course, here's their grade. If it's done with an articulation agreement, it usually has a notation that's an articulated course. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And is there anything that says that a articulated class can't be transferable to a CSU or UC?
It's up to them. It's up to them.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is there any legislation that says that a class that is articulated cannot be a transferable class to a CSU or a UC?
Not that I have seen. Other questions? Okay, here, I'm just flashing my mic.
Does the course have to be offered on the high school campus, or can it be sponsored by the high school off campus?
In an articulated course? Well, if the high school offers their courses somewhere else, and it's a high school course, high school minutes, high school clock, and it's an articulated course, and it meets the articulation agreement between the college and the high school? Yeah, that's my knowledge. I've never heard that question. It's a new one. Any other questions? All right, so one of the things is I would tell you to stay in contact with each other because there are work groups being convened to look at some of these issues to add clarity. And also, as was mentioned previously, we want to also be careful that we don't over-legislate so we lose some of our flexibility. So one of the nice things is that we do have local flexibility. It's also one of the things that makes it much more confusing for us. Because we have to be very clear that this is our local practice. This is what we think is the best practice because it works this way for us, and what is legally required that we do or don't do. Thank you.